This portion of the video has been made to highlight changes in content, the emphasis on solving multi-step problems in a real-world context, and how to locate additional instructional resources for Algebra I. Let's take a look at the 2011-2012 CCPS Algebra I framework. You will notice there are 5 algebraic topics that have been emphasized. These topics were introduced as new content last year and were field-tested items on the end-of-course test. The 2011-2012 school year will serve as full implementation of these topics, which will be testable items on the end-of-course test. These topics include descriptive statistics, inverse variation, systems of linear inequalities, square roots of monomial expressions and cube roots, and quadratic models of curves of best fit. Only 2 topics were removed from the course, matrices and central tendencies. Let's take an in-depth look at these 5 new topics. The hyperlink sends the viewer directly to that page in the framework. All information listed in the first column is stated directly from the VDOE frameworks. The SOL standard, essential understandings, and essential knowledge and skills. With the 2009 standards, there is a strong emphasis that students will solve and interpret multi-step problems in a real-world context. Notice in the essential knowledge and skills section, there is a bold statement that places emphasis on the Virginia process standards: problem solving, communication, reasoning, connections, and representations. Highlighted portions in the document you are viewing indicate new skills to the Algebra I course. Now let's take a look at inverse variation. What's new? Notice only a few portions are highlighted. Emphasis is placed on determining whether inverse variation exists, using real-world problems to model both direct and inverse relationships, and that the product of the values in an inverse relationship remains constant. Let's look at systems of linear inequalities. The emphasis here is on graphing linear inequalities that arise from real-world situations and solving systems of linear inequalities both algebraically and graphically. Now on to square roots and cube roots. What's new? The emphasis here is on finding the principal square root of a monomial expression. See the example in the teacher notes section. Additionally, finding the cube root of a perfect cube and knowing that the cube root of a non-perfect cube lies between 2 integers. Finally, let's look at quadratic curves of best fit. The emphasis here is on investigating mathematical models as an interpretation of a real-world problem. Mathematical models will include quadratic functions.
In the second column, there was a change made in providing access to instructional activities and resources. Anywhere you see CCPS Portal indicates that resources are now housed in a folder with the name matching what is written in blue. For example, if someone wants activities or resources for teaching standard deviation, he or she will simply use the link provided in the second column.
You will notice that you are now inside the Mathematics portal page for Algebra I instructional resources. Scroll down to find Mean Absolute Deviation, Standard Deviation. Open the folder to view instructional activities and resources. The latest addition to this group, Estimating String Activity, is listed last. It is a great activity for student engagement and promotes the interpretation of finding errors using an absolute value difference and a squared difference. This will address the question regarding compare and contrast mean absolute deviation and standard deviation in a real-world context. Please take the time to read our CCPS frameworks regularly as you plan your instruction. We have embedded numerous resources into these curriculum planning documents.